Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we're making a professional chiropractor connection with Dr. Selina Sigafoose Jackson out in Pennsylvania. Selina, can you get us started by just introducing yourself and reflecting on your upbringing in a chiropractic family and when it was in life that you decided you wanted to actually become a chiropractor?
Hi, yeah, thank you. So I guess when my dad drugged me around, holding my hand, showing me off that my talent was I'd hold my nose and say, medical doctors stink. And so from there, my dad always would say, you can fool a lot of people, but you can't fool your kids. So all six of us kids became chiropractors. And truth be told, my dad was of the era where he sacrificed his marriage, he sacrificed his family in the name of serving and chiropractic. And even in us seeing that, we still chose this amazing profession called chiropractic. So I went to chiropractic school in 1985, went and did my undergrad. But, honestly, I just knew I needed to marry a chiropractor. So big goal was to find a husband. And I found him day one. So I was there, became a chiropractor. We graduated in September of 89 from Life Chiropractic College, Marietta, Georgia, before it became a university. And it's just been a really wild ride since. So, yeah, we'll get into more stuff, but that's where it came from.
Well, just early on, if you were a guidance counselor in a high school or a college and a student came to you and said, can you share with me a little bit about chiropractic? I'm not really familiar with it, but it's showing up on my list of potential pathways that I can take to have a fulfilling life, to lead a purpose-filled life. How would you differentiate the chiropractic path to them, or what recommendations would you give to them to maybe explore chiropractic for themselves?
Well, I do it all the time in the office. My job in the office is I educate patients. So I do all of our doctor's reports and our report of findings. And I ask that question all the time. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And listen, you ought to think about chiropractic. Number one, our profession is an absolute need. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that might sound cliche, but it is a reality. In a nation that spent in 2021, $3.8 trillion on healthcare, and we can't get better than 50th in the world as far as health is concerned, what we're doing isn't working. And chiropractic is a means to, number one, give people hope that the body's created to heal. So becoming a chiropractor is a mission. More than anything, if you understand the philosophies and principles of chiropractic, the body is self-created or is created to be self-healing, self-perpetuating, self-maintaining. And our job as chiropractors is to just find out why that body isn't healing. And our job as chiropractors is to find that interference, not create the power, not create the healing, but remove the interference so that the body can do what God created it to do. And at the same time, have this great potential to have a great income and have a great quality of life yourself for health, and hook into these philosophies that the body isn't stupid. It's not lacking anything at all. And then raise your family with this mindset that all is well, everything's okay. There's hope. There's not fear in the body's ability. I just have to share this story, but I had a dad bring his little girl in, and she had 105-degree temperature for 2 days. So he brought her in to get checked. And honestly, my biggest thing was to just say, it's going to be okay. She's not delirious. She's not seizing. Maybe give her an enema to give her, because she was less than 2 years old. And by God, if after that adjustment, it didn't spike to 107, and they didn't freak out, nothing, because I told them and told them and taught them the body heals. And that is what we do as chiropractors. We give people hope in a hopeless world, confidence in a lack of confidence world, dreams in a dreamless world. To have a life, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you, that everything's going to be okay if we understand simple, basic principles. And you make a living.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And can you maybe just reflect on your time becoming a chiropractor, going through school, jumping through the hoops, but what you did extracurricularly maybe that really made the experience special? What were the highlights of your experience on that path of going through school, and maybe even talk about getting out of school in this answer, but just really paint a picture of the whole narrative arc of what your life was like going through chiropractic school, becoming a chiropractor, different challenges you faced that you overcame, or different surprises you encountered, maybe anything exciting that sticks out in your mind?
So again, when I went to chiropractic school, I was the fourth out of 6 children to become a chiropractor. So I was blessed that my parents bought a cheap old condo near the school. And I moved in, and it was my brother and my cousin who was in chiropractic school, and another guy. So I was 19 years old, and I moved in with 3 older guys. So they took me under their wing, and I did my undergraduate, and entered chiropractic school, met my husband, and I'm going to be honest with you, because right now it's a big thing to do a lot of extracurricular activities, because you got to know everything. You have to understand everything. And I just really trusted that the people that put the curriculum together knew what they were doing. And so I just went through the process. We never went to any clubs. We never did anything extra, except we went to DE, Dynamic Essentials, which was under the helm of Dr. Sid Williams, who is the founder of both Life East and Life West, along with a team of people. But I just would do what I needed to do to get through one day at a time, instead of trying to say, okay, I'm going to be this type of chiropractor and I'm only in second quarter. So now I got to do all these things through school to become this particular type of chiropractor. Yet through the process, I'm so exposed to so many things, yet I pigeonholed myself, and I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. So I just went and trusted the process. And that takes, I can see why people don't trust, because they hear stories from others that, oh, you should do this and you should do that. Again, call it what you want, but the people that put together these curriculums know a thing or two, and there's an entire machinery that goes beyond that. So just get through school, get the academics done, and then your technique and your clinical skills will come. They have to. And so I think there's not a lot of difference now compared to when we were in school, where you had to study for finals and then boom. So our daughter Chloe, she's finishing 7th quarter and just did her first set of national boards. And our heart broke for her, because we felt the pain. We know the suffering, but it's worth it. It is totally worth it. So the extracurricular things we did was being in groups of other people, not trying to go this ship alone, groups of people to study. And that's what we've taught our daughter, doing different board reviews. We hung on to Irene Gold board review, and study, because you get one trip around. And nobody likes to go around the second time. So you make it happen, get through the academics, be friends with people that are higher up than you, so that they can give you advice, that they can give you their patients when they pass on, and the surprises are no greater in chiropractic school than they are in life. When we went to school, they always said you're either going to get divorced, you're going to get married, or you're going to have a kid. Well, we got married. And it's because life goes on. In college, in graduate school, life goes on. And so if you can handle, I did have to work through in the early days of my education. And if you can handle working, and you can handle college, and you can handle testing, and you can handle a relationship, you can handle life beyond. So just get through those daily life hoops, and realize that, I'm a firm believer of the first principle number 1, that there's a universal intelligence in all matter and continually gives to it all of its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence, which means God will not let you get to the point of entering chiropractic school and getting to a certain point without delivering you past and beyond. So
Thank you for that. And you saying that you are in charge of the education in the office that you practice in, can you maybe describe some of the most core essential skills that you've developed as a chiropractor, given the specific role that you play within the practice, or just in general, when you deconstruct what it means to be a chiropractor? Can you maybe just boil it down to like what you've dedicated yourself to being the absolute best version of yourself at, and how that shows up day to day?
Yeah, so I am the daughter of Sigafoose, and my dad was an orator, and my dad pounded into me the absolute necessity of doing what many people call an orientation or a doctor's report or a lay lecture, which is what teaches people what chiropractic is. And so in the early days, if my dad said jump, I'd say how high. So I did it exactly how he did it. And then I realized while I was doing it, it was a little too long for me. I don't like 45-minute reports and then have to go over x-rays afterwards. So I honed my education process down to really, really short, really, really powerful and sweet. I pretty sure I take 14 minutes, but I try to do it in 12 minutes, which many doctors do it in over an hour. And so the biggest thing is leaving individuals that come to the office not feeling guilty or bad for any choices that they've made, and giving them hope for a future of a body being able to heal. And I've been blessed to be able to practice with my husband so that I can have the time to, yes, adjust my people, but also have the time to be in the back and do these doctor's reports and just wow people, wow them with facts. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and one day I looked at my spinal anatomy chart, and it has the quote from Gray's Anatomy that the nervous system controls and coordinates all organs and structures of the human body. And it clicked. Of course I know that, but it has been right under my nose. And if we can get people to just grasp that, the nervous system runs all things. And so if we can just remove any interference so the brain can conduct and coordinate the entire body, life is good. Yes, there's things that occur because we neglect it over a period of time. But just being able to get that point across to people without making them feel bad and giving them hope. And some people don't like that. Some people want to be the do it this way or get out of my office. Well, I don't want to be treated like that. So I'm not going to treat anybody that any different than I want to be treated.
Absolutely, I'm with you. Can you kind of imagine that you had a connection with a pre-chiropractic club at a local college or high school campus that had been started by some students, and they wanted you to either share one night or mentor their club or just be a resource for them? How would you maybe support a pre-chiropractic club that is really being designed to be a project that sort of simulates the real world experience of being in chiropractic practice prior to going to chiropractic school as a college student or a pre-chiropractic student?
Wow, that's a hard question. I think that my answer is going to be the same as every other answer, is that kids are lost, they're confused, they're going to school to become and get degrees that they're not using, and they're spending all kinds of money. And so one thing for sure, in my town, I'll just use my town as an example, over approximately 80% of the chiropractors in my town are 50 and older. And my husband and I do nothing to promote our practice except word of mouth over 30 plus years, and we attract thousands of people. In a month's time, we can see approximately 4,000 to 4,500 people in a month's time. We are getting older, and my encouragement to young people is nobody has to do it the way we do it, but somebody's got to be there. Somebody's got to start showing up. And if you want to be guaranteed work, guaranteed an income, guaranteed a purpose in life, guaranteed great rewards, guaranteed to be on the cutting edge of knowledge of true health, then chiropractic is the answer. It isn't the easy path. No path is the easy path. Staying home and doing nothing is not an easy path. Going and getting your undergraduate for chiropractic, for physical therapy, or becoming a massage therapist and just getting a certificate program, or being a nail tech. It's not an easy path. Nowhere is an easy path. But if you are in the least bit interested in caring for people's futures, caring to teach people a way that is better than what the world crazy town offers us. If anything, COVID taught us that what we do is not right. The mode of quote unquote healthcare is not right. I'm not saying chiropractic is the end all be all, but the body is. And as chiropractors, we have the opportunity to teach people a better way by trusting and understanding that the nervous system conducts and coordinates everything. It is our job to see how that interference occurs between the brain and the body and affect it and be loved by your community. And I always like to say, people stay with us, they pay us, and they refer. They stay, pay, and refer because, there's something about what we do. And we need, us older chiropractors, we need help. We need more people coming in, and it's a guarantee. It's as good or as bad as you make it, not the profession.
That's powerful. If we were trying to guide a student to spend 3 to 6 months of their life in preparation of going to chiropractic school, this is an independent study project, so they can choose any direction they want to go. It could be about anything as long as it's related to chiropractic. Do you have any creative prompts or projects that come to mind that you would set a student on to maybe prepare for 3 to 6 months and come out at the end of it with some sort of outcome? It could be any outcome, it could be any project. Anything come to mind? I'm just curious.
Well, I would say, first of all, get a job with a chiropractor. Don't shadow. This shadowing stuff, you see a little bit. You get a job with a chiropractor, you're going to see that chiropractor, how joyful they are or not, what kind of lifestyle they live or not, the hours they keep, the family they have, the adoration of their other staff members. So get a job working for a chiropractor. I am always looking for help, always. So others are too. And even if it's just filing, right? Even if it's saying, hey, let me help you out with your social media, because, you can maybe want to be a chiropractor, but you're pretty good on social media. So maybe offer your skills for, not that you're doing it for money, but get paid. And then the other thing I highly recommend is taking advantage of at least 3 schools, I can say. Life East, Life West, and Sherman have phenomenal leadership weekends, or champions weekends, where you go and you learn what chiropractic is, and they put you through different leadership courses or roles and just show you the way, and you hear other chiropractors. I firmly push, go to all 3 schools, not necessarily to even become a chiropractor, right? But to see, hey, I want to bring this vitalistic chiropractic mindset to being an accountant or to being a trainer or whatever. And or it can say, I want to be a chiropractor. And or it could say, I want to go to whatever part of the country to become a chiropractor. And then, talk to. So when you choose a chiropractor that you want to be around, choose a person that you like, choose a person that you want to be. When I was 14 years old, my parents took us to Quebec. And I distinctly remember this moment, sitting in the front row with my younger brother and seeing a young couple come on with 2 children. Good looking couple, dressed really nice. And I looked at them. And now remember, I'm remembering this. I'm 57. I was 14. And I remember thinking, that's what I want my life to look like. I want to see a husband and wife working together. I want to see beautiful children. I want to be healthy. I want to dress well. And I can imagine if that's what they're presenting, the lifestyle around that has to be quite similar, right? And so I want to live that life. And I would suggest that you find a chiropractor that has that outward look of what you want to create the whole model to be. And then follow them.
Simply put, if we were to describe the International Chiropractic Association's mission, vision, values, the different events, the councils, break down the opportunities that are available maybe for professional practicing chiropractors, maybe the history of the organization. I know this is like 10 questions in one, but what can you do to help build context for us on the International Chiropractic Association, why students or how students could get involved, why it might be of value to students?
So I just popped up our website, and our mission is to advance chiropractic throughout the world as a distinct healthcare profession predicated upon its unique philosophy, science, and art. So that's our mission. So we have a philosophy council, we have an upper cervical council, we have a pediatric council, we have a sports and fitness council, we have it's called AMTI, I believe. It has something to do with like whiplash and injury to the neck. We have all the different councils. So as a chiropractor coming in and being a member of our organization is sometimes just pure numbers matter. And having enough members in the association to help us promote advocacy within Washington. We have a Medicare bill that we're trying to get sponsored. We had it sponsored last year, but the session ended. You have to reintroduce that Medicare bill. And the cool thing about our Medicare bill is it gives chiropractors we have to do exams and x-rays for Medicare. You don't have to take x-rays, but you have to do other paperwork. And it makes the government pay for that. It gives chiropractors the opportunity to opt out of Medicare, to privately contract with the patient. And then it also gives an enactment date. Like, you've got to get this enacted. You can pass a bill, but they get enabled. That doesn't mean they go into fruition. And so we ask for it to be enacted. So we look for people to sponsor that. And in order to get into Washington, you got to have money. So getting involved in ICA as a student puts your hooks into an organization that BJ Palmer himself created and is really about protecting chiropractors and protecting chiropractic worldwide. Now, most chiropractors in the world are in the United States, so we have bills like the Medicare bill for the United States, but how Medicare goes is how a lot of things go. And if the United States can get it right for chiropractors in law, then it gets it right in other countries. But we are part of trying to promote chiropractic and making chiropractic legal, because it's not legal in all parts of the world. And so joining chiropractic, joining the ICA to be able to be part of a mission that wants to perpetuate chiropractic throughout the world. And as a student, I think that everybody should have access to a mentor and chiropractic, whether you're an ICA member or not. And that's probably not the most politically correct thing to say as the president, but I'd help anybody, whether you're a member or not. But what being a member does is it's, in today is a primary election day. And so the basic level of citizenry is to show up and vote. Just show up and vote. As a citizen, that's a responsibility. Well, in our profession, as a citizen of a chiropractor, it's to be a member. Be a member of something outside yourself, a state association, get involved, an international or a national association. That would be, to me, and donate back to your alma mater. Somewhere in chiropractic, donate. And so as a student getting involved, it just starts to plant the seeds in your mind that it isn't just about me. It's not about where I want to live. It's about the whole world receiving chiropractic. There is a universal law that, if a particular animal will eat from a tree that's 1,000 miles away, it has been scientifically proven that a tree local, not even near that animal, will react to that, right? Will react by putting out different chemicals or hormones to protect itself. Well, if I am promoting chiropractic in York, Pennsylvania, and I am giving my end all be all, or it's going to affect Africa, but it's going to affect Africa. If I go to Africa, then it's going to affect the Netherlands, and then it's going to affect Asia. It's a universal law. So getting involved is hooking into promoting chiropractic throughout the world.
Yeah, no, we're with you. I'm curious if we were to say 5x or 10x the membership or the amount of money that's in the budget for the ICA to put forward its efforts in the upcoming years. Do you have any vision for what's possible or what the agenda is for maybe the next 5 or 10 years? Or what the ICA is moving in the direction of, or what it's working on specifically, or what these councils are doing, I guess, to grow in numbers and grow in efforts, and what's coming out of the councils as a result of their efforts?
Well, I got to tell you, I've been interviewed a lot, but these are some of the hardest questions I have had, very detailed and specific. So number one, what the councils do is they help deepen. If I want to be a pediatric doctor, it's going to deepen my skills. And you get a diplomate in both in upper cervical as well as philosophy. And those are the 3 diplomates, I do believe. Well, there's other diplomates, but those are the 3 that I think of, and I can't, the AMTI one as well. So it deepens you. It's great for your resume, right? So as an individual, that's what they get. Where our strategy is moving forward is continuing what BJ has started, but our board has gone through an incredible governance process, and we're still going through it, but it's improving. And so it's trying to take us as a board from nitpicking and trying to micromanage ICA and coming up with a vision. And just to give you an idea, Dr. Dwayne Hoskins came on our board call last week, and the topic of our board call was the sacred trust. And what is the sacred trust? And since these were BJ's last words, what did he mean? And how does that affect us today? And how does it affect ICA? And it's to protect and promote chiropractic without it being sullied or defamed. And protecting it, promoting it in York County is great. That helps me, right? But it's got to be throughout the world. So our strategy is to work with, and again, these are some not so politically correct statements, but we're working with the WFC, the World Federation of Chiropractic. The current president is John Maltby, which is a past president of the ICA. And he is just really dedicated to making sure that chiropractic gets inroads in so many different countries that maybe you and I never heard about, ever cared about. And we know that Life West has an amazing program going on in India that is, again, about perpetuating chiropractic. So ICA is there to support that, promote that, and just making sure that our board does not have to know how many dollar bills are in the bank account, but that our board can be a strategic board to push and promote this mission that we're on.
I really appreciate the honesty, and yeah, just following me down this path of just trying to explore these topics, because I find that a lot of the profession has been on the defensive for so many years that I really love having conversations where I get an opportunity to ask people in positions of influence, where are we going on the offensive? How are we expanded? How are we growing? What are we doing to strengthen the connection between what I like to call the metaphor for the brain in the context of the chiropractic profession is the ICA and the schools and the teachers and the other associations, state associations and other organizations that exist, and the tissue cells, the organs, which are our chiropractors, our students, are now our pre-chiro students, which have really never been identified as a population within the profession that we need to develop infrastructure for and develop an actual program for, which is really what is at the heart of this project, is connecting a prospective student to you to set the tone before they get to chiropractic school, so they're aware of the ICA, they're aware of your path, they're aware of the diversity of paths that people take within the profession and all the opportunities available to them. And I just think that if there's shared experiences amongst this incoming generation of students, that it won't matter as much what school they go to, as much as it matters what experiences they've had, the mutual respect they share for one another, and their awareness of what chiropractic is in the depths of what chiropractic practice can look like. And I just really appreciate you sharing today providing some expanded perspectives for us. And when you touch on the international scene, it really does touch a nerve with me, because I do believe that if schools are starting up, for example, this year in Scotland or the Netherlands or Brazil or Australia, these are some of the more new programs that are being brought forth by what we will just call chiropractic focused individuals and teams that are propagating the mission that we're on here. They don't really have any pre-chiropractic program to properly contextualize the path and attract people to their program. So I do find this of strong value to continue to ask people such as yourself, what would pre-chiropractic mean to the profession to really strengthen the profession from within, and not look outside ourselves for, oh, we need to go in this direction or that direction, but just look within. Like, we have tons of pre-chiropractic students on college campuses where there's little to no presence of chiropractic happening in the conversations with guidance counselors or the anatomy classes. The teachers have no awareness of chiropractic's connection to the spinal column or the central nervous system. So I just throw that back to you just to carry on this dialogue. And I will say we're segueing towards the second half of this conversation. I hope I'm not exhausting our time together right now.
So the question is repeat that, please.
Simply put, when you hear pre-chiropractic studies being promoted in a structured way, what does that do to change the structure of our profession, and how can that strengthen our profession's efforts expanding to new countries?
So what we know is if you get a chiropractic degree in another country, it is very difficult to come back to this country. But it's luring. It's very alluring to go to another country because you don't have undergraduate. It's more like a 5-year master's degree. So you save money. You can still get a great education. You know, my mother used to love to tell people, because my mom was not a chiropractor, but she was 100% chiropractic. And she used to love to tell people, listen, go wherever you want. You're going to get a degree and then become a chiropractor, you know? And so I mean, there's so much money involved in education now that you don't want to waste it on just nothing. And so to go to another school outside of this country and get your degree, I have a niece and a nephew that just graduated from Barcelona. And one of them would love to come back to the United States. And that's really a lot of hoops. So this pre-chiropractic conversation, unfortunately, isn't held by chiropractors if it's in an organized institution. And so really what it is to get to the guidance counselors, to get to the advisors. And how do we do that? How do we do that structurally? And that, you know, I think you're actually having me think out loud. I think that is actually 100% right. It's a demographic of people, even not the pre-students. It's the people telling these students. It's the people that these students are trusting. And so getting to them, I'm actually going to make a note, because we are growing our representative assembly. So we have RAs in every region and every state, and that is a fantastic conversation to have with them, is to go into these organizations and institutions and try to educate counselors. Big deal. And I think that, again, I made the comment, as Medicare goes is how many things go. So as the United States go, at least for right now, many things go. And if we could perfect that, if we could help them do their job, help these advisors do their job without asking anything in return, because there's not a chiropractor that's going to go onto campus and want to educate and then want payment back, right? We're doing it just for the sake of it. And I think that's a very good point. And I don't have an answer, but you gave me an aha thought to promote this within our organization to get people to go to these institutions. Everything becomes a business these days. And while making money is beautiful, I'm positive at the end of our days, nobody wants to know how much money we made. But we want to know how many lives we impacted. And if we can get a hold of just one counselor in a pre-chiropractic program to really understand it. You know, like me, at 14 years old, I looked at a couple that I'll never met, never spoke to, and that formulated in my mind the life I wanted to have, and I created it. So if we can help these counselors help formulate in the mind of these confused students who really are now taking, you know, it went through that era where everything was on mom and dad. Now it's coming back. Students are having to take responsibility for these debts, and they don't want to create a debt that's not going to serve them. And so, no answer, but a great conversation and a great to-do list.
Yes, the to-do list is very long. I really appreciate that. Just honest answer and response. And my premise, just to maintain congruency with chiropractic, is to have the pre-chiropractic students be the ones that communicate value to the guidance counselors and to their teachers and the administrators. So involving the pre-chiro students enough that they can actually have a job, a summer internship, where they're working on how do we connect chiropractic to our college campus, to our high school campus, and it's all going through them, but with support and mentorship every step of the way. I think that's really the best model, or the most effective model, because it can be exported anywhere in the world, whether we have people practicing chiropractic in that area or not. As long as there's pre-chiropractic students in that area, then there's chiropractic existing. So it is definitely a really deep question. So I appreciate you seeing the bigness of it, because it's something that's stuck with me since I was a senior in college, and I had somebody come and speak to the freshman students. So I decided I wanted to become a chiropractor when I was in my last semester of college. And in that last semester, the chiropractor that really opened my eyes to chiropractic, I had already met a couple chiropractors, but that person came in, I made the connection and got them an opportunity to speak to the freshman class of Intro to Kinesiology students at Temple University in Philadelphia. And they stood in front of about 300 students with a spine and the story. And by the end of that hour, he had 2 boxes of brochures that he was giving out, and they were all gone. And so you could imagine that in the moment that a student hears about chiropractic, more than 50% were attracted, not repelled, by the message of it. And so the way I'm kind of bringing forth the framework of the pre-chiropractic educational structure, it's like an eight module program. I don't need to go into all 8 modules unless you're interested in knowing what they all are, but one of the unique pieces is breaking innate up into your inner scientist, your inner thinker, your inner artist, your inner teacher, and your inner entrepreneur, and helping people see that they could be all of those things by becoming a chiropractor. And it's dynamic and it's multi-potential. Like, you can go in so many directions, right? This is about my 300th interview on this project over the last 3.5 years. And I've really talked to the head influencers in the profession in regards to animal chiropractic or upper cervical chiropractic or chiropractic researchers or the heads of all the campuses at the chiropractic focused schools. And I'm just building context for you. I'm sorry, but I'm just
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, because what you're saying is what we're lacking in human beings. What you're doing is for nothing else but because it's the right thing to do. And so how do we instill that into an individual? Well, somehow, some way, one person, and I'm not the person for everybody, you're not the person for everybody, but you grab that heart like that chiropractor did with the spine and a story. And you grip their heart and you twist it enough for them to say, there is something here that I have to keep looking for. And and that's the beauty of chiropractic, because we do that every day with our philosophy and our teaching and our sharing of that philosophy. But you're 100% right. How do we take that? We move it into the masses of the world to say, we need you to be a chiropractor, and this is why. And how do we get into that heart? And your total subject of that, there is that innate artist and that innate healer and that innate entrepreneur. I mean, it is there. We don't even know it's there. I'm a chiropractor of 30 plus years, born and raised in chiropractic. And that's a concept that's just pretty powerful. And people use that and they take that, but it is a chiropractic message. And so how that would be the thing. How do we, number one, it wouldn't be hard to get into these campuses, but having the Army, the foot soldiers to do it with the desire for nothing in return, to set that ego aside and share that spine and share that story in a way that weaves into the hearts of these students to make these decisions. And it first starts with what you're doing. I don't know how it's going to end up, but I do believe the power of planting a seed. Totally.
And the relationship between structure and function, when we talk about subluxation happening at birth or even preconception or during just that pregnancy phase, pre-chiropractic is being pregnant in a sense of like becoming a chiropractor. So this is kind of an interesting statistic. Online on TikTok, we have over 18.2 billion views for hashtag chiropractor, and we have 17.9 billion views for hashtag medicine. So we're out viewing, we're getting more views than medicine is as a profession online. But then when you search hashtag pre-med, it's 3.7 million views. And when you search hashtag pre-chiro, it's 200 views. So we've totally missed the boat on recognizing that all of the different professions, the dental profession, optometry, medicine, they've created these shiny objects of getting a high score on the GRE or the OAT or the MCAT or the LSAT. So they've created a goal that people have to move towards in order to achieve entrance into a program. And that has created a luster that students want. They want that notch in their cap or that notch in their belt, that feather in their cap, that they could say, I got in to multiple schools and I chose this one because it called to me. Right now, chiropractic is a fallback option, not because it's less attractive, but because it's lesser known. There's no real bar that's set that's challenging students that want to be challenged. Every student wants to be challenged. And we know how challenging chiropractic school is, but we have no idea how challenging pre-chiropractic studies can be if we never even thought that it was important to begin with, if we never even created it to begin with.
Wow, that is really powerful. Wow. Wow. I don't even know how. I mean, like, one side of me says, well, then let's be shiny, right? But then the other side of me says, well, has this been successful up to this point? Has it been successful not, kind of accepting people with the minimum standards to get in? And that would have to say, I mean, based on our numbers of graduates, based on our numbers, yeah, the world is interested in looking at chiropractic, but the world isn't interested in becoming a chiropractor. And how do we alter that? That's another to-do list conversation.
And it's very nuanced. There's a fine line between like lowering the bar to just let anybody come in and raising the bar in the right way. How do we raise the standards to say you need to have been in at least 10 different chiropractic offices, you need to have received adjustments from at least 5 different chiropractors, you needed to do an independent study capstone project for 3 to 6 months, which turns into a book report, or it turns into a science fair tri-board, or it turns into a published paper utilizing the physiology labs at the university campuses in the name of studying chiropractic or pre-chiropractic. But as long as we keep asking the same questions as a profession, we will keep the same, so historically it's like chiropractic chooses you, you don't choose chiropractic.
Right.
You're called to chiropractic, but we live in a world where it's a competition for attention, and the attention span is so short right now that every other profession has outcompeted the chiropractic profession for the attention of the best students or of the best athletes or of the best whatever, fill in the blank. And yet chiropractic is one of the hardest things to be great at. To be a great chiropractor, you have to be like amazing in so many ways. And so
Yeah.
extending that runway to make it a 6 to 7 year process from high school to the end of chiropractic school will give students a longer runway to develop their skill sets, to prepare more effectively, to go really, really deep. Imagine so my success for this is on week 1 of chiropractic school, a student is going to a club that they're already aware exists for reasons that they've already worked out in their mind, and they've already got a budget set aside for specific seminars or councils they want to join or programs they want to engage with, because it's a prerequisite that you're a chiropractic student to engage with those programs. That to me is success. That's saying that on day 1 of chiropractic school, this is the first day of the rest of my life being a chiropractor. And so it's really a conscious practice to tease out all the details of every single aspect of the life cycle to become a chiropractor. And that's why it becomes like 16 stages of becoming a chiropractor in my eyes, and that's just me trying to keep it as sort of general as possible. But there's 16 stages that I've identified that kind of illustrate the entire life cycle.
Wow. Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm thinking of my life and what brought me to chiropractic, and it's cultural and it's familial. And chiropractic has this huge cultural concept around it. I spent just a simple year. I was on the board of trustees of Life University. And then after that, I began my journey into, I'm one of the founders of the League of Chiropractic Women, and then I became in leadership in ICA. And it's just this unique culture that we are so passionate. But as I look at me, I am there's not a soul that cannot be reduplicatable in some way or another. But a person to have my passion comes from a lifetime. My desire to serve on a board, my desire to be a founder of an organization, my desire, like I get paid this much, and I got a raise last year, so I get paid this much. So to do what I do, and I spend many hours, and I do it because it's a labor of love, because I love this, but I love this profession. And what I love more than this profession is I love that our Creator created us in such a magnificent way, and that this profession works with the design and not against the design. And that's truly simple but powerful. And so how do we move away from that? Because my passion says, I want as many people to be chiropractors or not, so we're going to let you in, right? We're going to let you into our school. But that is not sustainable. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more people over 50 than under 50 coming in, in the profession. And how do we make it sustainable? Yet still, how do we reach in and get those hearts to be different? Because one thing is for sure, chiropractic might be a fallback. And for that small percentage of people where it's the fallback, they may be mechanistic doctors. But how do we get somebody to fall in love with what I've fallen in love with? Principles, lifestyle. My Chloe is a great example, Lyme's disease at 2.5 years old. Real sick, couldn't walk, couldn't talk at that point. I was more afraid of Lyme disease. I was more afraid of the treatment than Lyme. And when I could get my head together and I reminded myself, her body's created to heal, we're going to get through this. And I could do the steps needed. Here she is, 23 years old with no sign. So I have that personal experience that gives me that passion and gives me that drive that I want to perpetuate chiropractic throughout the world. How do we legislate and educate that, but not lose that passion?
Well, I just want to thank you for having a conversation with me today. I think that we got to the heart of why I'm doing this, and I really appreciate you for bringing that out of me. And my last word is just that the philosophy is unbeknownst to most students. They never actually got exposure to it. The different pathways, being an animal or sports or funk, like anything that you can think of that resides within the chiropractic profession, most students never get exposure to. And so my last name is Glass. I'm just hoping to provide some more transparency of the magical gifts of the chiropractic profession. There's been so many marvelous works of art, your dad included. He created all these different things for chiropractors back in the 70s and 80s. I know that your brother, who I've interviewed on here, has tried to preserve some of that, but students still hear to this day of your family's last name through your dad, but they don't really know where to access his stuff. So if I can make it really easy through a blog post that's living right next to another blog post that's super relevant to these students, then I've done my job of really just making it clear where we came from and how many people helped grow the profession and help develop the profession. And yeah. Anyway.
Well, Ben, I want to say to you that your job's not done. You know, in talking to you, you've flipped some switches in my brain that has really been, I have been utterly concerned about the future of chiropractic, not because of chiropractic and us losing the philosophy, but not having enough people coming in. And I thought, well, what's the answer? Oh, the answer is that we don't retire. That's the answer, that we stick around and we just die at the table, and that we stay and bring students in so that they can mentor. But I don't think, after talking to you, I realized that there's so many more answers and that we have to think outside this box. And I think that you have created a box and opened a box. And I just want to say to you that I'm committed to joining however we can. I'm going to ask you to, I want to connect with you so that you can speak to our board, because I really think that with our board and our representative assembly, we can create a program to get your pre-chiropractic messages to institutions that have pre-chiropractic programs, but they're just called pre-med, but they stick chiro on that. And that I can't tell you how much you've awed me in this conversation, that we aren't just talking, right? We're talking, but you've lit up a spot in my brain to say, hey, if I'm head of a strategic board to perpetuate chiropractic throughout the world, how do we do that? Well, Ben's working on stuff for years. Ben's got a lot of content. Let's talk to Ben. So I thank you. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm going to expect you to say yes.
Of course. And you're honestly one of the first people out of 300 people I've talked to that reflected back to me that the questions that I'm exploring for myself with you and others are things that need to continue being explored in the future and now together, and collaborating and trying to bring me in, because I am a mind that's thinking 5, 10, 20, 100 years down the line for chiropractic. So it's thank you for seeing that. I appreciate it. I just want to acknowledge there's a lot of people that this just goes right over their head with the power.
No, you came right through. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you triggered things in me. Normally, when I'm asked a question, I got the answer while I'm in the middle of the question, and you really triggered a lot in me. So I appreciate it.
All right, we're going to wrap there.